Welcome back to the channel. I've had some questions and comments about my origin story, how I was able to afford to buy this land and build my dream home, the solar array, the barn, all of the things that I make my content on. So today I thought I would give you a little background, and hopefully if you're struggling or dreaming of building a ranch like this, or maybe something even greater, you might be able to glean a few items from my story that would help you along the way. I started with nothing, really. I was poor. I was working as a laborer. I had the basics growing up in life. My parents provided a roof over my head, but I never really had any money from any other source other than what I could build with my own two hands. I was really just getting by, but years later I was able to build a company. I became the CEO, and I went from being a laborer to sitting behind a desk and doing speaking engagements and things like that. Eventually I sold that company, and today I've come full circle. I'm back to being a laborer, but I'm here on my own ranch. I'm fixing broken plumbing, I'm grading roads, I'm working with tenants. But this time it's by choice. It's what I really want to do. So this video really is for anyone who dreams of owning land and being in control of your own schedule, your own income, and of course your own destiny. My journey has been full of loss, frustration, tragedy, but also resilience, breakthroughs and triumphs. I guess I feel a little bit defiant too, because I had a lot of people that didn't believe in me, and they do now. But a lot of my drive came from being told I should do something else or follow a more traditional path. So if you're struggling right now, you're not alone. Everyone has to go through what you're experiencing, so hang in there. It's the tough times that really forge a strong character and the resilience that you're going to need throughout your life. Amazing things can happen if you stay the course. If you take even one piece of inspiration from my journey, then this will be well worth your time and well worth my time to make the video. So here's my story. I grew up without much. Money was tight. Opportunity certainly wasn't handed to me. So I went to work. I was swinging a hammer, hauling materials, raking leaves, had a paper route, doing odd jobs. I worked as a janitor, anything I could do to make money, but it was all trading my time, sweat, blood, and tears for each dollar that I made. I didn't understand compounding money. I didn't understand passive income. All of that I had to teach myself. Life wasn't glamorous, but it gave me grit back then. And that's where I learned the value of hard work, and that discipline is what's necessary to become a successful entrepreneur, and patience, and having the fortitude to push through some really pretty awful experiences. Some days I really didn't know if I was going to make it at all. I remember one day I pulled over on the side of the road and I just held my steering wheel. I put my forehead on the steering wheel and thought, if there is a God, which I'm not a very religious man, but what is the saying? There are no atheists in foxholes. That's how I felt. Please help me and give me the strength to get through this. I really was almost at the end of being able to remain an entrepreneur. This is when I was running my business out of the back of my truck. Stay tuned to the end of this video too, because I'm going to add my origin story from 2017. And 8 years ago when I made that video, I had no idea that I was going to end up on this ranch and how things were going to turn out. And I feel that way, that my future self 8 years from now would come back and it would be nothing that I can imagine today, because I'm constantly building, constantly reinventing myself, and life is just full of twists and turns. It's the most interesting novel you could ever read, is your own life. So stay to the end to watch that video. I worked all throughout high school and saved money, and eventually wanted to go from North Carolina to California for a music career. I was an aspiring drummer, and I had $800 in my pocket when I left North Carolina, and really it was absolutely insane to even consider doing that, but that's what I did. And eventually I got established here, and through years of working odd jobs and being in and out of the music business, I saw opportunity in glass security. I founded a company called Campbell Window Film. which is a contracting business that grew to one of the largest of its kind in the country. But I didn't stop there. I invented a product called Riot Glass, which is access denial glazing. It's designed to stop forced entry. That invention turned into a manufacturing business of its own, and I grew that alongside my contracting business, Campbell Window Film. The combination of the contracting plus manufacturing was a real breakthrough, and it positioned me uniquely in the market and created a business that was attractive beyond my personal involvement. So by 2022, both businesses had grown into leaders in the industry. Riot Glass had become a recognized brand for protecting schools and government buildings and commercial properties, and Campbell Window Film was one of the largest window film dealers in the country. When the time came, I sold both companies, and that was my financial freedom moment. But it also forced me to ask, what now? Well, what do I really want out of life? It definitely changed the way that I thought about things on a day-to-day basis. The answer wasn't another title, and it certainly wasn't more money. It was land. Land is what I wanted: space, independence, to unplug from the system, to get out of the city. And that decision led me here to southern Utah, where we bought our first acreage. Bought 20 acres and wanted to build an off-grid homestead here. And it just started this whole path of creating a self-sustaining ranch. And so now, instead of chasing growth charts, I'm building barns and running heavy equipment and making sure that the lights stay on with the solar system that we installed. And the land isn't just property, it's freedom. It's a different kind of wealth. And here's the twist. After going from poor to CEO to inventor, I chose to go back to being a laborer. I have this huge set of keys that I carry around. I'm like the maintenance guy. I feel like the school janitor. I fix everything. People call me when something's broken. Call me when the propane isn't working or whatever. I dig trenches. I fix the roads. I weld. I haul stuff. I cut trees with chainsaws. And, I build everything with my own two hands. And the difference now is that I'm doing it not out of necessity, but I'm doing it out of a choice. It's because I love working with my hands. And the fulfillment I get from this work is greater than anything I've ever found in a boardroom or any title or check that I received. Not that the money is bad, but, being here, the focus now is not just on survival and padding the bank account. It's really just about the fulfilling work that gets me out of bed in the morning, being up here breathing all this fresh air, looking at these beautiful mountain views. And I love to deal with people. I love to deal with the animals up here. But real wealth isn't a title. It's not a bank account. It's the freedom to live life on your own terms. So that's my story. From poor to laborer to CEO to inventor to landowner and back to laborer again. What I've found is this: success is temporary, but freedom is forever. For me, freedom looks like this ranch, this land, and this work that I choose to do every day when I get out of bed. Now, I want to play this video that I made back in 2017, and I thought things were going really well then, and they were for me at the time, but I had no idea. And life is like that. So hang on through these really tough times, because you see all these crazy rewards that happen when you least expect them. I grew up in a middle-class household in Charlotte, North Carolina. Unfortunately, my father succumbed to alcoholism, and eventually it caused them to get a divorce. My mom became a single mom raising two young boys, and she had to go back to school and work a full-time job. So things got really, really tough in our household. We had to be very careful about money early in my life in order not to lose the house. These things all sort of set the stage for what kind of entrepreneur you will be later on. After my parents divorced and I really saw that there was some serious concerns about just being able to provide a basic roof over our head and food on the table, I wanted to make sure at that early age, I began to get this sense that I needed to do anything that I could possibly do to make sure I was helping in the effort of the family, of the household income, to be able to make sure that we were going to be okay. I think I internalized that at a very early age, and I attribute a lot of that early sort of trauma to who I became as an entrepreneur, and once I achieved success, how I live my life. When I was 18 years old, I had this idea that I could be a rock star. I was influenced by my mentor musicians, and I'd worked tirelessly to improve my playing ability for years. All through my childhood, I played until my hands would bleed. I actually became quite accomplished at playing the drums. I moved to California at 18. Rewind a little bit, I had to get a job during high school because the only way I was ever going to be able to move was to save up my own money, because there was I didn't have any source of money to do this move unless I earned it myself. So I worked at a VW dealership as a oil change tech and saved up enough money to where right when I graduated high school, I convinced my brother that we should move. He was in a band with me at the time. He's 3 years older than me. That we should move to California to achieve this success that we wanted in music, because the scene was going nowhere at that time in North Carolina. So he and I both drove across the country. At that time, I had $800 in my pocket that I'd saved up. And by the time I got to California, I had about $200 left. Dead broke, we needed a place to stay. So we stayed a few nights sort of in the park and lived like homeless people. Eventually we figured out, why don't we just put all of our stuff in storage and then we can live in our vans. And so we had 2 separate vans, and I towed my VW bug out. And I would get up in the morning and I would open up the van door and stretch, and I'd go back and get in the car and drive around and look for jobs. Eventually, I did get a job, and then I had to live in that van until I had a couple of paychecks and could prove to a landlord that I had income. We finally did get a little tiny studio apartment, and it was my brother and I and this other musician guy that we knew. And it was very crowded, but we were just so happy to have, a front door to lock and a refrigerator to put the leftover pizza in. It was rough. You persevere, you get through it, and you do what you have to do. Okay, I can elaborate on the whole rags to riches story in a later episode. For now, I just wanted to share one nugget of wisdom that I gleaned from the whole ordeal. Okay, here it is. You have to decide on something that you're going to do. And it has to be big. You have to set a very lofty goal, and you have to do it now. Now, maybe not right now, this minute, but soon, very soon. Like put a week, maximum 2 weeks, put a date on it. And once you make a decision on what you're going to do, you're going to internalize that, and you're going to sear it into your brain with 100% conviction. Now, there's a book written about this. It's called The Secret. I think they made a movie too. It's a very simple premise, and that is that you decide what you're going to do, and you put that in your mind, and then every decision you make every day, from the moment you wake up until the moment you go to bed, and even in your dreams and in your subconscious, will orientate you towards that goal. It's a subconscious decision that you've made, and it will influence every other decision you make. It will make you get up earlier. It will make you turn off your TV and read more books. It will guide you. It's kind of like the North Star. You don't know all the obstacles that you're going to encounter along the way, but you have that one guiding thing to take you in that direction. And as you begin to go in that direction, things emerge that will give you opportunities to make decisions, and you will slowly meander your way. It's like water. It will always find the best way to go, and you will too. But first you have to have that focus. That's the primary thing, number one thing. Now, the number 2 component to that same piece of advice is this conviction. Every entrepreneur, especially every successful entrepreneur out there, every one of them had this unrelenting drive. That is absolutely a component to this that's necessary. Otherwise, you'll just get lost. You might have the North Star, but you just won't really believe that it's the right way to go, and you'll get distracted by something and then second guess that original decision, and then you just wander off into nothing. Another little thing I would recommend is find a mentor or 2 or 3, not too many, but just a few people that really inspire you. Another thing is you've got to be humble. You've got to be ready to get knocked down over and over and over again, and stand up and dust yourself off and keep going. You just have to stay the course. You just have to keep walking no matter how crazy it gets. Never stop. Not everyone has that. I've seen it. I know that not everyone has it, but every successful entrepreneur has it. You are going to be tested. Final thoughts. True happiness and success comes from the intangibles. Money helps. It can be rocket fuel to a lot of things, but it is not going to provide sustainable happiness unless you have the fundamentals in place. Someone told me once that if you're outside in the woods, freezing cold with hypothermia, and you're wandering through the woods and you find a cabin with smoke coming out of the chimney and lights on in the windows, and someone brings you in and wraps a blanket around you and gives you a warm bowl of soup, you go from absolute misery to happiness. That is creature comforts. That's the basic fundamental things. Everything beyond that
has diminishing returns. So I've sort of always just kept that focus in mind, because it's true. I've bought a lot of cool stuff before and I ended up selling it off and getting back to the basics. I'm much happier. So be smart with your money and don't worry about what anybody thinks. There'll be plenty of time later for showing off if that's what you decide to do. And I see people go out and buy these really expensive homes, and I'm thinking, if you bought a more modest home and reinvested some of that money for that big payment back into your business, you'd probably be able to really grow and expand your business a lot more quickly. At least that's the way I did it, and it's worked out well for me.
It's always kind of fun to watch old videos of myself, but really it's like a diary, and going back in time and seeing, where I was in my life 8 years ago. But I really believe every word of what I said as much today as I did then. It really holds true. Now, as you evolve, of course, you're going to move your North Star, as I have now. I'm focused on something different, completely different business. I'm building commercial property and some triple net here in the city nearby where our ranch is. And it's a whole new journey now, but all the philosophies remain the same. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you got something from my story, I would really love to hear your comments and thoughts below. I'd also love to hear anything that you've done in your life that's inspiring, or maybe something that was an epic turning point for you in your life. I love to hear stories like that. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. That really helps the channel. And subscribe for more off-grid living videos, and I'll see you on the next one.